Hello everyone. Today we are going to be talking about force and motion, specifically friction. The last video I made about force and motion, I talked to you about what force was. Force is not the Star Wars type of force. Use the force. It's not that. We have to think about force like a scientist. Force is a push or a pull on an object. Force can be caused by you. You can force things to happen. You can push a shopping cart. You can pull a rope in tug of war. Now here's an idea. Take this ball right here. I'm gonna watch it and wait for it to move. Ready to wait with me? All right. So why isn't this ball moving? I'm sitting here and I'm waiting for it to do something. Well, it's not going to move. It's going to stay still forever unless something happens to it. Things that are still are going to stay still until something happens. So how can I get it to move? Well, I could push it. I could pull it back. I could flick it. I could blow on it. I could kick it. I could wait for an earthquake. But the bottom line is that this ball is going to stay still unless something happens to it. That's supposed to happen with things that are moving too. Things that are moving are supposed to continue moving unless something happens to it. So let's try that with this ball. I'm going to give it a push, watch it move, and it's supposed to keep going. Here we go. It stopped. So there's another type of force called friction. Say it with me. Friction. Turn to the person, the plant, the animal next to you and tell them friction. You ready to hear a new word? Friction. Friction. Friction is a force that happens when two things rub together or push on each other. It's very hard to tell when the ball rolls across the carpet, but friction is happening. Friction is what causes the ball to slow down. So what's rubbing? What are the two things rubbing or touching each other when the ball's rolling? The ball and the carpet. Have you ever been cold and decided to warm up your hands? Well, you could blow on them, or you could do the trick of rubbing them together. Have you ever done that before? Rub your hands together. Do you feel that? If you keep rubbing them, they're going to start to change temperature. Do you feel them getting warmer? That's friction. When you rub your hands together, all of that energy that you're putting into your hands and all that friction, all that energy has somewhere it needs to go. So it's creating heat. Try rubbing your hands on the carpet back and forth over and over. The same thing happens. Messy basement alert. Okay, friction makes it possible for me to stand like this or like this, but eventually the friction won't be strong enough to stop me from falling down. Oh dear. So what was causing me from falling down? Friction, right? My feet and the floor were there and pushing on each other, creating lots of friction, hard to slide. It's hard to get rid of friction on Earth. There is a way to think about no friction or less friction. Have you ever thought of ice? Ice. Have you ever walked on ice before? You slide all over the place. It's hard to get good friction. Imagine rolling a ball across very, very, very smooth ice. There's a chance it might go on a lot longer than on the floor. If this floor was ice, when I stood up against the wall, I would fall right to my bum. Have you ever slid across the hard floor in your socks? It's fun. But imagine having more friction between your socks and the floor. Imagine sliding around like that on carpet. Would it work? No. Imagine riding your bike on a very smooth, fresh, brand new sidewalk. Nice and smooth, you glide, it's great. But then that nice fresh sidewalk ends and you end up on bumpy old sidewalk. You slow down a lot more. There's more friction slowing you down. So where can we find almost no friction? For that, you have to go into space. In space, things float forever and ever in the same direction until something happens to it. Like maybe a space rock is coming this way and another space rock is going this way, and then they collide and go this way, possibly. But something has to happen. There's no friction in space, so for things to change direction or change their motion, something has to happen to them. So let's pause and review. Force is a push or pull on an object. Things in motion stay in motion. They keep moving unless something happens to them. Things that are still stay still forever until something happens to them. And friction is a force when things rub or push against each other, and it slows things down. So let's think about an object, any object that has the ability to move. How about a baseball? What force happens to that baseball to cause it to fly into the air? How about someone throwing it, using their hand to push it? Or maybe a bat hitting that ball and then it goes into the air. All right. How about a blade of grass? A tiny little piece of grass outside. I don't know if you've ever seen them. They move sometimes. What causes them to move? Wind. Wind is a force that can cause something to move. I know you have probably seen kites flying in the air, or leaves blowing in the wind, or maybe even you step out on a windy day and your hair goes like this. Force is caused by wind. I hope after this video today you understand the word friction and force a little bit better. All right, thank you for learning with me as always, and I'll see you next time. Take care.